It's the 80s in America. Colorado Senator Gary Hart is running to be the President of the United States. As the election draws closer, Hart is leading in the polls and is poised to win the election. However, politics is a tricky game that very few master, and the winds of change are always blowing. So, does the frontrunner deliver on the story of a presidential candidate caught in the middle of a scandal, or is the best that we'll get from a Hugh Jackman performance still real steel? Let's talk about it in this review. The movie begins by showing us the outlook that Gary Hart, played by Hugh Jackman, has on politics. From there, we're taken on a journey that explores one particular point in his life and his political career. The movie wastes no time telling this story, and it gives us the necessary details to showcase the change in news journalism and reporting. While at the same time, it also shows us how that change impacts politics, politicians, their daily lives, and their families. The pacing of the film moves very quickly, and it's the dialogue that helps drive the momentum of the pacing forward. It's the quick and rapier-like style of dialogue that the campaign team is giving back and forth throughout this film that really helps build on this belief that we have no time to waste in this story. The dialogue felt similar to something that we would expect from something like an Aaron Sorkin project. It's quick, it's wasting no time, and it's got some dry humor and sarcasm. The biggest issue I had with this film was character development, because there is none. Who the characters are at the very beginning of the film is exactly who they are by the end of the film. There is zero arc for every individual in this story. The film chooses to look at one particular moment in time, and it sticks to that with 100% conviction. In fact, by the end of the film, one could argue that since there's zero character development for all of the characters in this film, and the only change in progression we see is how the news is told and how the news is reported, one could argue that this film is actually more about news journalists and news reporting than it is actually the story of Gary Hart. Because we get to see the transition from how the newsrooms are reporting like actual news, like the economy, foreign relations, national security, and we see the paradigm shift, and we see them focusing more on just tabloid stories. If we're looking at the movie for a story that shows change, progression, and growth, we need to look at the news agencies, the news reporters, the journalists, the TV news anchors, not the politicians. Because every single individual that we meet is the same from beginning to end, but how the news is told and what is told on the news is not. The Front Runner is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I'm actually not going to recommend a big screen viewing of this film. However, I will recommend you check it out once it's available on Redbox or your preferred streaming service. Hugh Jackman, J.K. Simmons, and cast all do well in their roles in this film. In fact, I was actually surprised to see Molly Ephraim and Caitlin Dever in this film, because I only knew them from the TV show Last Man Standing, so it was nice to see them spread their acting chops out a little bit in a story that is more dramatic and more intense. And they both do a fine job in their roles as well. This film clocks in at 113 minutes, and it doesn't feel that long at all. Because again, the dialogue and how well it's done and how quick paced it is, plus how they have that central focus on just this particular moment in time, that really helped just drive the movie forward, kept the pacing consistent and quick, and again, it just made this film feel a lot shorter than it actually is. However, and unfortunately though, since this film has zero character development, and it's arguably not even about Gary Hart as the title suggests, but more about the news and how the news is reported, I can't give this film both high fives. So, the Front Runner will be getting one high five instead. The Front Runner is playing at your local movie theater right now.